Welcome to my daily review. Today is Tuesday, July 29th. You're looking at a daily chart of the Nasdaq, which was down 80 points today, or 0.38%. It closed at 21,098. And you can see it's still closed just a tick above the 10, half a percent, 0.06% above the 10, and 5.6% above the 50. So the first time in a while it's been below 6% above the 50. But I expected caution. I've been a little more cautious recently for a couple of reasons. One, this rally is long in the tooth. It's more than 3 months old. Historically, I mean, that's a pretty long rally. I mean, you could sit here and count the weeks, if you will. From the follow-through day on the 22nd, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah. So we're getting closer to the end of this rally than the beginning. So that makes me cautious. Another reason why I'm getting a little more cautious is that August and September seasonally a little weaker than normal. Although I think, as the year progresses, I think we're gonna, continue to hit record highs here on the Nasdaq. Today it hit a record high of 21,303 and just pulled back. If I show you a 5-minute chart, you can see that action there. Yeah, right at the open, and then just kind of sold off all day. And a lot of stocks did too. And the other reason why I'm cautious is because we're seeing a lot of the leading stocks sell off. The earnings season has been, an excuse, I guess you could say, just, buy the rumor and sell the news. And I'm going to get to that towards the end of the video. But I wanted to start off with earnings because I think earnings are a big deal. Earnings impact your stock, more than most people are willing to admit. They think it's all about liquidity, and it is, and then buyers and sellers, of course. But for a long, sustained, run like Apple had for 25 years, you need earnings. They've been delivering the goods for years and years and years. And that's what it takes to have a run like that. You have to have earnings. You got to deliver quarter after quarter, year after year. Anyway, I'm going to get to earnings from last night first and then this morning. Well, we had Sanmina report, and I didn't even cover this morning. And this is my friend's company, Yuri and Jelko Sola. So congrats to them. I spoke to them recently, and they never say anything about their business. It's like, business is good. It's okay. They never, can't lead on. That would be like insider trading. But anyway, I'd say business is pretty good at Sanmina here. They had a 22% earnings growth and 11% accelerating sales growth. So business is good at Sanmina. A nice 23% move for that company, and that I believe constitutes an all-time high for Sanmina. Yuri started the company, I believe, in 82. You got to go way back. And then he retired and went to play golf, hurt his back golfing, and then said he couldn't golf anymore. So he came back to the company because the guy running it was butchering it. And that's what you see. He came back around 2022, I believe, or maybe even earlier than that. I don't know. He's been back there for a while, but anyway, he's got him firing on all cylinders here, and Sanmina just kicking butt. Congrats to the longs there, Sanmina. This is CL. This is a Canadian company, and the same group here, Electric Contract Manufacturing. What you're going to get when you see earnings like that from these two companies, you're going to get some pin action, some other names. And this is a CLS. It was up 16.5%. So a nice move on that one too. Both of these, though, I wouldn't call these power earnings gap. They're not breaking out of bases. This thing's already extended here. It had this, what is it, 144, had this nice cup with handle, had a 3 weeks tight here. It's already right around 150, and then blasted off this week. But the low is 169, so a little extended as it rallied up above 200. Same with Sanmina. It was a little extended there, not quite as bad as CLS. It had actually pulled back the last couple weeks into earnings. But those two, just phenomenal performance, top stocks and a top group. And remember last week I talked about Flex. Flex reported and sold off, and everything else sold off with it in the group. Well, the ghost pin action works both ways. It worked to the downside last week, and now this week with those two reporting strong earnings. You saw FN making new highs today. They don't report until the 18th, and then JBL, Jabil They reported the 25th. They reported last month, but here a nice move again today, 2.5%. There's a report right here, rallied up, pulled back to the 21, finding support. Heck, I'd say that 227.54 is a nice little buy. This thing's a powerhouse. This is one of your top probably 10 performers in this century, 2020, the 2000, 20,000, whatever the hell it is. Um, since since the year 2000 to 2025, this has been one of the top performing stocks, believe it or not. In a nice little consolidation pattern, trying to break out of that little Darvis box there. Yeah, if I go to the monthly, you can see that this thing's been a monster. I would have to go further back. But I'm not going to do that because it's not that important right now. The last one in this group I want to point out is TTMI, TTM Technologies, this electrical contracting manufacturing group, super strong group. And this had this little wedge pattern here. Yeah, it's extended. It's had a big run. There's your cup with handle, and there's your move higher. But it had this little bull wedge pattern, little flag pattern, if you will, and popped off the 10 EMA today. So moving averages, that's why I say when companies or stocks pull back, you find out where they're getting support. What moving average is the 5, the 10, the 21. Certainly, if they're starting to fall below the 21 in this type of market environment, you want to start cultivating the weeds there, and you just want the strongest stocks in your portfolio. And so this would certainly qualify. All right, that's enough for that group. Just wanted to point out the pin action, they're very strong here, the electrical contracting manufacturing group. CDNS reported last night, Cadence. Yeah, this one was up nearly 10%. Now, this is a power earnings gap coming out of a base. See the difference? This is coming out of a base where Sanmina and CLS were already extended. This one's up 10% this week. But when I look for in a power earnings gap, I want a 10% move, and that would qualify. 9.74 is close enough with volume with 100% above the average 50-day volume. And so this one qualifies as a PEG, a power earnings gap. And I'm starting to accumulate quite a few of these here. Um, and anyway, I will go over that maybe on a weekend video or something, because you got to monitor these, and they usually behave a little better or a lot better in an uptrending market that they do in a choppy market or a downtrending market. And we saw some pin action today from Cadence and Synopsys. This one had a nice move higher, pulled back to the 10, and then popped with the news from Cadence. They don't report until the 20th. So those two, I shouldn't say, yeah, they kind of have a duopoly. Those two kind of do. But you could see this one's just, rip roaring since the Liberation Day. That's 3 months of climbing higher, more than 3 months. Anyway, all right, I'm going to move on to another, some stocks did well, some stocks didn't do so well. Boeing reported down more than 4%, pulled back to the 21. Who else are we going to do? Okay, PayPal reported this morning. Yeah, nice haircut there. Slice the 50 with volume. Adios, muchachos. UNH. I don't get the appeal. The people want to buy this stuff on the way down. Don't try to catch a falling knife. This thing's down for a reason. It's got a lot of litigation. There's a lot of problems here. I know it's cheap, but it's cheap for a reason. WWD, this one reported last night. And I said this was a Druckenmiller stock and was down after hours, but reversed today and made a nice move here, up 1.4%. We'll take that. There's your sell off in the morning, and then some buyers stepped in for Woodward. Who else reported? Oh, SOFI. SOFI had a nice report. Yeah, and had a nice response, up 6.5%, closing near the lows of the session. That's okay. Just trying to fill that gap there. That's 5% of the daily range for SoFi. I'm going to save the worst for last. Glowworm, GLW, had a nice response, and that's breaking out of a base. That's another one that qualifies for our power earnings gaps, right? Why? Well, because it's up more than 10% with more than 100% above average daily volume. And then the last one I'm going to get to is Spotify reported this morning. And I said that Spotify is going to be valued on their users, right? And they had premium subscribers increase, above expectations, Monthly average users increase above expectations, but they're losing money again. You can't go from a loss to a profit and then turn back to a loss. They spent too much money. It doesn't matter. Wall Street doesn't care what you're spending it on. They don't care. They just care that you're making money. And so they were expecting some earnings here and they showed a loss here of 50 cents. So yeah, you can't be doing that. You can see here three successive quarters of, I know, nice earnings gains. And now, they're losing. So yeah, that big red number there was the reason for, and well deserved. This thing, you can't be surprising Wall Street like that. Very disappointed with this company. Although, if you're looking out longer term, those premium subscribers and those monthly average users that they will turn into profit eventually once management stops spending. It sounds like, our government, they just keep spending and spending. So at some point, you got to stop spending. I know you got to spend to grow, but you got to control it a little better than that. And you can't surprise Wall Street. I mean, they should have probably warned earlier. That was a disaster this morning. All right, and then one more. I'll get back on the happy side, the positive path. Rambus, breaking out for the cup with handle here. Another one that qualifies for our power earnings gap. Why? Well, it's because it's up more than 10% with more than 100% above average daily volume. So Rambus will be one to watch. Got to look at the weekly chart there. Yeah, pretty nice move here for Rambus, up 16% this week. But you know, this is a crapshoot, folks. I mean, you can't just say, "Oh, I wish I would have bought Rambus before earnings. I'd be up 13%." Well, it could also go to the downside, like we saw with, PayPal and Boeing and Spotify. So, it goes both ways. All right, I'm going to move on. 'Cause enough of that shenanigans. I want to talk about the hardware names, some of the semiconductor stocks. NVIDIA has been on a nice run here. They're now at 4.3 trillion market cap, up nicely this week, more than 1%, just trending higher. And yeah, this is definitely a leader in your AI space, your semiconductor segment. But what's happening here is that we have Meta and Microsoft and Apple and Amazon and these big companies that are going to be reporting earnings in the next few days. We have the FOMC meeting on interest rates. I doubt they're going to move rates, but Powell might speak dovishly about a rate cut in September. That will, the markets will rally on that if he says anything like that, and we're going to get multiple expansion, and I think he might. And then on Friday, we have a jobs report, which kind of ties into the interest rate. So a lot of data points here. And believe me, if Microsoft crushes it tomorrow, all the software names are going to be going higher because, it's that big of a company and it's going to just, rising tide is going to lift all those software boats. You can see it's been on a hell of a run. So they report tomorrow after the close, and it's going to have an impact on stocks like Oracle. Oracle's been a big AI monster. Yeah, this thing looks fantastic. Wow, that was a nice close today. I was looking at it earlier. Oh, not 1 minute. Yeah, and that's a nice 1 minute close there. There you go. Let's take a look at the 5 minute. Yeah, it was kind of like wallowing along. Started off nice, sold off. Nice close though. That's what you want to see, that high volume close to the upside for Oracle. And just stocks like Palantir. It's Microsoft is going to carry these with a strong number tomorrow. And I think they're going to deliver the goods. I think the estimates are a little low for Microsoft. Apple Oven, another one I put on my ready list today. This thing's trading tight within its base, just pulling back to a moving average. This is what you want to see, with a stock like this. It's making higher lows. It's trading above the moving averages, pulls back. Where is it going to find support here? I'm going to zoom in here because it is trading super tight. And you can see those moving averages are, within like 1% of each other, 1.5%. So it's really tightening up here. And I wouldn't be surprised if Microsoft delivered a good number and Apple Ovens ripped higher, Thursday or Friday. Well, who else we got here in this group? I did show Palantir, didn't I? I think I got it written down. Yeah, Palantir is just a biding time here. Pulled back to the 10 yesterday. That looks fine. What else do I have here? Come on, Marty. Snap out of it. Oh, PEGA. This is a software financial name making new highs. That one looks good. And then Cloudflare. No, yeah, just I like it above 200. And this is more of a cybersecurity name. And I've got to get to the cybersecurity stocks as I segue. Palo Alto Networks looked like it was going to break out today. You can see it ran up to 210. Let's check that out on the five. Yeah. I thought at the open, I go, man, this one's really going to move finally, right? And then whoop, we got news that they're buying CyberArk. But I just want to point out one thing is you really have to know what you own here. Palo Alto Networks is not Rubrik, okay? This is a cash cow with, they got terrific cash flow, 56% return on equity. I mean, anything over 15% is phenomenal. They have zero debt. So they have, money to spend and buy stuff like CyberArk. And so, this is Palo Alto is the type of company that's going to be, in it to win it for a long, long time. CyberArk here, a nice 13% move as they get bought out. This is an Israeli company. So good for them. Congrats to the longs. And I think Palo Alto longer term are making plans and they're looking out for the bigger picture. And I just think that this is one that if I'm going to buy one in a retirement account for longer term, this is the one I would buy because they have the cash, right? I mean, they can suffer through some hard times if our economy gets a little rocky. These guys are going to survive. Whereas a stock like Rubrik, this one, this is one I like, but it doesn't have any money. They're losing money, okay? But what they're relying on is growth. They have the growth numbers, accelerating sales and earnings growth. So that's what I say. You have to know what you own. But if like I said, the economy gets rocky and we don't get interest rate cuts and things get tight, this thing's going to sell off. And if the growth slows, yeah, this thing's going to get a big haircut. So this is way more risk than a Palo Alto Networks, and that's why I say you got to have to know what you own. CrowdStrike's another one that has. I just showed you Palo Alto, cash flow. They don't have quite the cash flow or the ROE, and they have debt. So that's why I'd say Palo Alto is more for, retirement account. CrowdStrike, their growth is slowing. So, and then Rubrik. So it's on the other end of the spectrum. I'm going to go back to Rubrik because some people are saying it's breaking out today. It's breaking out. It's not breaking out. Rubrik is not breaking out. It's still consolidating within a base. I don't know why people can't wait, right? Just wait. Wait for this thing to form a base, and then we'll come in and swoop on this and when it's ready to go. But right now, it's just forming a base, and you're likely to run into some selling. Why? Well, because you got this overhead supply here of people who bought above, the $90 level. When they get back to even, they're going to sell out the Rubrik stock and go buy something else. So just be patient here. Let this thing do its thing. Yeah, it'll probably be before September 15th before it moves, and before their earnings. But just yeah. Okay, I've got to next. I've got to go to oh, I missed out on some hardware names that I wanted to show. CRDO, that's what happens when I, scratch down all this stuff during the day. Uh, Credo making new highs today. Another AI stock, just fantastic, a semiconductor fabulous. And speaking of which, in that same group is AMD, which gapped higher today, came back, and I believe it closed that gap 174.70. Yeah, 174.68. So it did close the gap. Let's take a look at the 5-minute chart. Yeah, ran hard, gapped up, ran hard. Yeah, there's your okay. It filled it right at the open. But still, I think this thing's going much higher. AMD, not every day. It's not going to go higher every day. But okay. And then the last one, or I have a couple more. Broadcom, another strong name in this group, just surfing its moving average. I should switch to the five on these leading stocks like AMD and Broadcom. Yeah, just surfing the five there. Beautiful. And then ALAB, I put this one on the red list today. Pulled back a little bit to its five here, 119.41, closed right a tick below it, 0.8% below it. This is one that I would definitely watch here. Made that nice move. Once it got above 100, we were watching for it, and it bumped its head up against it 100 many, many, many times. Broke out of this little Darvis box in a big way, right? Made this big, like 20% jump up to 124.21. And then pull back to the five, found support, rallied up, now pulled back again. So this is definitely one to watch. And as you can see, it moves fast. And when stocks pull back, you want to find out where are they finding that support? Are they getting it at the 5, the 8, the 10, the 21? And that's valuable information to know. And today it pulled back, I think, to the 8, but still, the ALAB looks pretty good to me. All right, I'm going to move out of that group and throw a change up or a curveball, whatever you want to call it. Maztec. This one, just surfing the 5. These stocks are super strong. Quanta got a downgrade yesterday and pulled back, and today it pulled back to its 5. I mean, that looks fine there, right? The 5 is at 410. It closed at 410. Yeah, these things are just super, super strong. This whole entire group, whereas yeah, top three group. I'm going to get to the top group here in a minute. I think if I have time today, hopefully I have time. Who else is? Oh, WLDN is in this group, and this one's just been on a heater. Got those ants and just surfing the 5. AGX is one that I put on my ready list. This one moving nicely this week. And people trying to buy this, they look at it and they say, "Man, there's a dollar spread, between the bid and the ask." And the spreads on the options are actually closer than the stock. So you have to put in a limit order for this thing. But it's been super strong for the last, I don't know, few weeks here. Yeah, broke out last week, 196 to 239 and closed today right there about 239. So it did go up to 246 today. Yeah. AGX, super strong name. Who else do we have in this group that we like? Oh, PRIM making new highs. Yeah, just, broke out with that cup with handle and just trading higher with its 5 EMA. Sterling is another one that I like. And just surfing the 5. Yeah, super strong group. And let me see. Oh well, I guess I'll go to the banks, just a couple banks. I'm not a big bank guy, but just acknowledging strength here. We're just, observing the fish tank, what's going on in the market. Goldman Sachs making new highs. JP Morgan's been super strong too, just surfing the 5. That looks fantastic. BK, bankrupt. Yeah, surfing the 5. The other one is KB. I just flip-flop them. Whoa, what happened here? Must have been an earnings mess up. Anyway, I undercut the 50. So it's adios, muchachos for you, KB. All right. That's it for the banks. As you can tell, I'm not really interested in banks too much. I do want to get to the biotech names. They're starting to perk up a little bit. SRPT was up 14% today. This thing has been in a doghouse, penthouse, whatever, outhouse, whatever you want to call it. They've had some clients die. I mean, it's pretty sad actually. Right in a row, like 3 or 4 patients. So that's kind of a negative side effect. The death is kind of permanent. Not trying to make light of it. It's just yeah. But what happened? Why it was up today is the FDA put a hold on it and they lifted the hold. I don't know why they did that, but they did, and the stock was up. ONC B1 Medicine up, making a new high today, breaking out of that base, popping off the 5. That one looks pretty good. I keep pointing out INSM. I want this on your radar. This thing's trading tight here. They're going to have a PDUFA next week, I believe. And if it's approved, this thing's going to rip higher and it's going to go without you if you don't own it. Also, it could be rejected and it will slice its 50 for sure. So there's nothing guaranteed here. Everything in the market is at risk. Every dollar you put in the market is at risk. There are no guarantees in the market. TGTX, this one's behaving exactly as you would expect it. I just want to point out, I guess you can go back here to the higher lows. It just keeps making higher lows. 3403, then 3406. They're gonna report earnings on Monday. They'll probably announce it Friday after the close and then report on Monday. But you can go back all the way to February. You know what made that low? 28, what is it? 28.17. That was February. Made another low in April, 31.60, whatever. Then in May 13, 32.68. And here we go. We got a low June 18th, 34.03. Then a recent low, the most recent low, July 8th. 34.36. Today the low was 35.20. So maybe it'll come down the next couple of days, but this one's going to make, I believe, it'll make a higher low and then bounce above that 40 level. So yeah, I'm going to buy some 40 calls for maybe August 15th. So I think their earnings are going to be good. Yeah, I'll go over that another time, but I think I think the estimates for 135 million this quarter, they're probably going to do about 140. And the key for them this quarter is they spent too much last quarter. I mentioned earlier about a company, Spotify, spending too much money, and it cut into their earnings. They still delivered 3 cents, but the street wants them to come up with 86 cents this year, and you're not going to do it by 3 cents a quarter. So they need to deliver 20, 25 cents in earnings this quarter. And then I think the stock will move, provided that they have the 135, 140 million in sales. So anyway, that's it for TGTX. I did mention, okay, I got a couple things. Trash. Trash was moving today. Waste management, I believe they reported last night. Nice move. Trash, I mean, it's a steady business, right? It's like the funeral business, steady. Pollution control, this is CECO. Man, 16% move. That had to be an earnings move today. And the other one, oh, RSG. I see these guys locally around here, oh, trading tight within a base below the 50. So that one's not playing along with the others. All right. Okay. Baker Hughes bought chart and Baker, pulled back a little bit on that news. But GTLS had a nice bump. This is a play on natural gas. You heard the president talk about the deal with Europe and natural gas. Europe buys about, I don't know, 80 billion a year of our natural gas. So yeah, this is a big business. Baker Hughes bought Chart just for that reason. You're seeing some of these other names in natural gas, pop this week because of that news. Yeah, LNG is up more than 4%. That one's looking pretty good. FTI, another one in this oil and gas name, looking good. And the other one was not in transportation pipeline or natural gas integrated. And this is Imperial Oil making new highs. That one looks strong too. So, like I said, just observing the fish tank. Not saying go out and buy Imperial Oil tomorrow and mortgage the house, but just observing strength in the market. All right. I did mention the number one group earlier, GEV. Here is the alternative energy strong group and up. No way. That was not up today, was it? No. Am I seeing things? No way. Something's wrong with market, Smith. Yeah. This thing closed at 632. Yeah. This is not up today. I don't know what happened there. There you go. Pull back $15 to its five. EMA, nothing wrong with that. Doing nothing wrong. It's had a big move last week. I was telling you, I was looking for that short stroke pattern from 651, but it made a new high, so there blows the short stroke pattern. But still, in spirit, this thing looks it's doing what would expect it to do, doing nothing wrong here after a 12% gain last week, giving a little back this week. A couple others in the group, Oklo, pulling back a little bit. This one 1% below the five, and the other one is LEU. This is the top performer in the group, and that I think was below its 10. I have it on the five. I'm not going to switch it, but it pulled back to the 10 yesterday and found support today, undercut the 10, down 6%. So you could beware here. These stocks that have a lot of profit, they're going to take that profit and be cautious into the Powell meeting, into all these new earnings reports, these new data points, and the jobs report on Friday. So, it stands to reason, it's logical, practical to be more cautious now. This is a massive, massive rally, and it's not going to last forever. So taking profits is wise. All right. Okay. All right. I'm going to do this once again. I promise this will be the last time this week. I mentioned the reason for being cautious. We're seeing a lot of these big cap leaders that are selling off below their 50 now. And as Spotify did, worse than Netflix now, way below the 50. CrowdStrike, I mentioned earlier, this thing below the 50. Selling off, showing weakness. Zscaler can't get back above the 50. Just a lot of these leading names that are, not doing well. Uber today joined the club. I'm not sure why. Maybe because of Avis and Waymo. I'm not sure. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It slices 50 with volume here, so it's Adios, muchachos. So these are some of the leaders here. I mentioned IBM last week, sold off. Just Abbott Labs, earnings report comes and it just dies. So you got to be careful here. The air conditioning HVAC company carrier today, man, down 10%. We know about Chipotle, Chipotle Mexican Grill. Yeah, whoa, man, that thing's in a world of hurt. So these are some of our former leaders. United Healthcare, I mentioned that one earlier. Nobody cares about that one. And then EXL, excuse me, EXEL, another one that sold off a biotech name. Honeywell, this is Dow Jones, blue chip allegedly stock just selling off hard after earnings. And the last one I want to get to is Novo Nordisk. This morning they took a chainsaw to their guidance and just cut everything inside. Like they cut the whole forest down, and um and they named a new CEO, and that's how the game's played, right? So you name a new CEO, and then you lower guidance to just where an easy bar. So in 3 months, everybody's going to forget about the lowered guidance, and they're going to come in and they're going to crush earnings and the CEO is going to look like a hero, and that's the way you play the game. So there's no slowdown in the GLP-1 drugs, and so for hims and hers to be down today was ridiculous. Yeah, it was up. It was sold off at the open on that news, and it was ridiculous. Yeah, right here, it was down to like 56. Yeah, it closed over 60, and same with Lilly, because it's a Novo Nordisk problem. It's not a Lilly problem or a Hims and Hers problem. God, Lilly was down 5% on that news. Yeah, and Lilly's got a broader pipeline than Novo. But anyway, that's how they play the game. Slash guidance, hire the new CEO. 3 months, they're going to crush earnings. There's lowered guidance earnings. And then, the CEO will look like a hero and the stock will recover. But there's no lack of demand in these weight loss drugs. And the problem here is Novo Nordisk did not have enough drugs to manufacture. So the FDA said this is kind of like an emergency situation. So he allowed the compounders like Hims to sell these drugs temporarily until they could, get up to speed in manufacturing. Well, in May, I believe, they got up to speed in manufacturing and Hims was not supposed to sell these drugs, but they found little loopholes in the law and Hims was selling these weight loss drugs. And so Novo partnered with Hims and then a month later they canceled. And this is why Novo, needs a new CEO, which they announced today, and they really need some leadership here. You can't be doing that to companies. But anyway, that's why I didn't think Hims would be down today, and it wasn't. And I think Novo now with the new leadership, they're going to right their ship eventually. I'm not saying catch a falling knife here. This is why bottoms are so hard. You thought 57 was the bottom. Now here it is at 53.94. And but the business overall is strong. There's huge demand. This is why they bought Catalent, I guess 2 years ago. The deal finally went through last year, early this year. So they're going to get their manufacturing. They're going to be a manufacturing monster. And they're going to get it together. But, you don't want to catch a falling knife. And that is a falling knife. That's a complete downtrend. I mean, you're getting Novo at prices from what? Yeah, 3 years ago. So anyway, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up. Except for none of the great Steve Jobs. I have one more thing I want to point out here. After hours, Starbucks reported it's, a pretty miserable quarter. Same store sales for the sixth quarter in a row declined 2%. So they're losing market share. They're probably losing it to Dunkin' Donuts or Dutch Bros or some other local coffee houses, but they're losing market share. And, Starbucks is kind of seen as the boomer company, and young kids don't want to go where their boomer parents or grandparents are. And the younger generation likes the younger demographic, likes other coffee houses. China's a problem for them with Luckin Coffee. The CEO is going to say a bunch of BS, and promise a bunch of stuff, and it'll probably rally a little bit. But man, when you have negative same store sales growth, they missed on God, I think they didn't provide any guidance, I believe. I don't know. I'll have it more in the morning. But for this thing to be up after hours is kind of ridiculous on that report. It was not a good report. The stock's been down a lot, obviously. Yeah, this thing's Stage 4 decline still. And anyway, all right, that's enough of that. Booking reported, good report, but they said costs are going up going forward. So, they had a blowout report actually, but the stock's down a little bit due to that, forward guidance where the cost it's going to cost them more to operate, I guess. I don't know why. I'll have to look into that. Seagate reported they beat on top and bottom lines. I'm not sure why it's down so much. Maybe just like Netflix, buy the rumor, sell the news. It's been up a lot, right? 63 to 152. So time for a breather here. So I let it get a little bit of a trim, a haircut. Maybe it'll pull back to the 21 tomorrow. I'll have to wait and see. All right. But yeah, the business is good. The report was good. Visa, I didn't see their report. These guys are a cash cow too. Yeah, down 2% after hours. No great shakes there. Now, Cheesecake, I did not see their report. Up 6% after hours. Thank you very much. So we got Starbucks and Cheesecake Factory up after hours. So take note tomorrow, when some of those retail restaurant names maybe can get some love finally. They've been brutalized for most part. Teradyne reported after the bell up 3%. And then PEN reported and it's up 8%. This thing's, consolidating in the base here between what 308 and 227. So that's a nice big base, right? So maybe it'll pop here tomorrow and get back above its moving averages. We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for watching. We still have major headline news coming tomorrow from Meta and Microsoft. Those are, the biggies. You have VRT in the morning, which I'm looking forward to. And then Apple and Amazon on Thursday. You got Powell announcement on interest rates and a jobs report on Friday. So you got to exercise a little bit of caution and not just be, willy-nilly just throwing your money around because you got to be very careful, very selective here on new buys, especially if you have, Robinhood from, $29. I think you can sit through a little bit of a pullback or, you still want to protect your cash. They're going to report tomorrow as well. But so those you have decisions to make. I own the stock. I have decisions to make tomorrow ahead of this. And like, how much do I want to carry? Maybe I want to sell a little more and just maybe buy some calls or some puts to hedge. I just haven't decided yet. But anyway, it's been a nice run. A pullback would not surprise me here. Buy the rumor and sell the news kind of a deal. That's what I expect, even with fantastic numbers. The 21 is not too far below 100 there yet, 98. You know, we'll just have to wait and see. But that's earnings season, man. I just showed you a bunch of treacherous moves to the downside and a bunch of gaps higher to the upside, and that's earnings season. We see companies taking market share, companies losing market share. This is earnings season is telling us the story of these businesses that are doing well and those that are not doing quite so well. Thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up.